Hello everybody, my name is Offbeat Outlaw. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing an issue that I have with Homebrew. Now, this isn't a blank, this is going to be a wide generalization because Homebrew is among the most... Oh my god, I can't say among without thinking of Among Us. I'm broken. Homebrew is among some of the most wide and varied types of content that you will find about Dungeons and Dragons. These are labors of love put in by fans of varying kinds of D&D, and they're just trying to bring in their favorite character into D&D without having to multi-class. They want to make it specific and lovely. But largely this ends up making things that are kind of bad. Usually what ends up happening is we get something beautiful, frankly multi-classes that are honestly incredible in their own right. May I introduce to you Explosion. I don't mean to make fun of the person who made this in any way, but this class is just fucking incredible. It is a... Imagine explaining this to somebody, to the original makers of D&D in the 70s. Imagine explaining Bakugo to fucking Gary Gygax, that sick son of a bastard. But anyway, a lot of them end up being like Explosion. On the Discord server, on my Discord server, this class is infamous for being so weirdly balanced that it actually ends up being underpowered. Like it ends up being a really underpowered class because the abilities are trying to be too balanced. And that is where a lot of problems come in for D&D Homebrew. People try and make their classes balanced to something. I don't know what. They nerf them and make them so specific that they don't end up working. For instance, we have this class. This class does not get extra attack at any point, and the hit dice that they can do is 2d4 at 5th level, 2d4. That means on average 6 damage. That's a d10. On average, you're dealing a d10. That is less than any class, really. Almost every class does on average more than a d10. But they attempted to balance this by using the ability left hook. You've perfected one of your most useful techniques, the left hook. On the first round of combat, you may make your first attack left hook, dealing double your explosive sweat damage. So that would be 12 damage. 12? That's the average damage for a single greatsword swing from the fighter. This is so underpowered. This is already half the damage capable of a fighter every single round. And then we get Blast Rush Turbo. At 7th level, you learn a method of blasting yourself in the air to perform pseudo-flight. As an action, you use explosions to give you a flight speed of 40 until the end of your turn. However, to land without taking damage, you must succeed on a dex save. See this? This is like a flight ability at 7th level. That's not bad. But they give it this weird dex save thing, meaning it's useless. Then you get a stun at 10th level, or you could be a monk and get it at 5th level. You get Howitzer Impact at 15th level. You can do 10d10 damage. 10d10. Okay, that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. Or you could be a Hex Blade Singer fighter and deal that every single turn without any worry whatsoever. This deals on average 60 damage. 60 damage for a turn. At 11th level, a fighter can deal on average 50 with no use of an ability whatsoever. And this is the problem with most multi-classes. I realize this is a very specific example, and frankly, I think this may... I'm kind of dunking on this, but I think this may be the best subclass I've ever seen in my life. Because, hot damn. Fucking Bakugo, man. Oh, I love this subclass. Everyone, I want you to go here, and I want you to give this subclass 5 stars. Because, honestly, I want to give this class 5 stars, because it's fucking amazing. And the main issue, when I'm reading this thing, I'm reading somebody who had honestly a great idea. Turn My Hero Academia into D&D. How would you do this? And usually when I look at these subclasses, I see classes that are made by people who don't understand the fundamental mechanics a lot of D&D. They're idea forward rather than mechanics forward, which results in these ridiculously unbalanced, whether they be incredibly nerfed or incredibly powerful. In this case, ridiculously not powerful. This class is so underpowered, it is insane. It's unfair. You will be ridiculously worse off than most of your than most of the rest of your party if they were just some of the regular player's handbook classes. But these classes are clearly made with a lot of love. And I can tell that when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at someone who is a My Hero Academia fan, and they wanted to make a really cool class. And honestly, there's some pretty cool stuff in here, and I think that's the takeaway from a lot of these homebrews, is that there's a lot of cool stuff, but they're just not very well, they're in my opinion, they're not incredibly well executed, because they're not comparing to the other classes. On average, at 5th level, your class should be dealing roughly, without using any abilities, 30 damage. Or using an ability that they have multiple of. Like, if, for instance, if you are a monk, if you're expending your flurry of blows every single turn for 5 turns, combat usually lasts only like 2 or 3 turns anyway, you're going to be dealing on average about 35 plus damage. If you're a Battle Master fighter, you're going to be dealing slightly more, roughly around 40 damage. But that is how much you should be doing. This class deals at 5th level maximum 12. It deals on average at its best 12. Like, it's just so underpowered. That being said, obviously this class does have some really great does have some good aspects to it. But I would like to present to everybody a new way of homebrewing, and I've made a class with this, and I think it's pretty good. I could be full of shit. I probably am full of shit. I probably need to take a shit. But I do think that this class that I've made is an example of what I would consider homebrewing done right. And I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I have played a shitload and read a lot of D&D, so I think I figured out how to do this. I may be wrong. But here is my subclass, and just so you know, this subclass is available on my Patreon. Now, my Patreon is only $3 a month. I am going to try and make more subclasses for all of the main D&D classes as I go. I would love to continue to make subclasses that are cool and interesting, and what, in my opinion, is mechanics-forward D&D. Stuff that gives you cool and interesting mechanics, and then I will retrofit an idea to it to make the classes feel different. Because otherwise, I feel like a lot of homebrew can be accomplished with some clever multi-classing. But this is what I would like to, this is what I call the Scoundrel Rogue subclass. It is a subclass for the rogue because rogues are really easy to homebrew for, but because there's only 4 features you need to make. But I have made something that I think is really interesting, and honestly, I think it fits really well with a ton of classes. So if you would like to use this class in your game as a dungeon master or a player, please, I'm going to go through all the features now, and I can't stop you from pirating it, but please don't. I'm showing this to you guys because I care about it, and I want you guys to see it and go, oh, that's cool, and then go and pay for it on Patreon. So please go and pay for it on Patreon. It would mean so much to me if this got support. And if it does get a lot of support, I will make more subclasses, and that Patreon that you paid $3 for a month ago, and you paid $3 for the next month, it's just going to be a new subclass, potentially. So, please. Here's the class. So we have the Scoundrel Rogue subclass. So the main thing that you get, so we get a few things. At 3rd level, this is where you get the stuff that defines your subclass. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you learn new ways of how and when to strike at your opponents when they least expect it. Enemies will now also provoke opportunity attacks from you when they enter your effective range, provided you are wielding a finesse or light weapon capable of applying sneak attacks, as well as when they attack someone else while within your range. For an attack to count as an attack, you must make an attack roll. Now, this I think is a really cool feature. It's basically a nerfed version of Sentinel. Now, Sentinel would allow you to do all of this with any weapon, and it would reduce the speed to 0. This does not do that. You must be using a finesse or light weapon to take these special opportunity attacks. And you don't reduce their speed to 0. It's still really useful, and I still think it makes this class stand out, but there is a little more to this as well. Next thing you get is the Counter Combatant feature, which is the main thing that you get from this. Starting at 3rd level, your senses become heightened and tuned to the ebbs and flows of battle. You gain the ability to use more than 1 reaction per round. You gain additional reactions equal to your proficiency bonus. You retain the ability to react once normally per round. These bonus reactions refresh on a short or long rest. You can't take more than 1 reaction at once. If you take a reaction, you must wait until another creature starts their turn before you may take another one. These reactions otherwise work exactly the same as other reactions. So this is the main ability of the Scoundrel Rogue subclass. They are given more reactions. And fun fact about reactions, you can use your sneak attacks on reaction attacks if you've already used your sneak attack on your main turn. Because the wording of, let me get the wording of this just to make sure there's no confusion. Here's what sneak attack says. Beginning at first level, you know how to strike subtly to exploit a foe's distraction. Once per turn, you can deal an extra 1d6 to one creature you hit with an attack if you have advantage on the attack roll. So once per turn, that is not once on your turn. That would mean you can't use it on reactions, but once per turn means that you can use it on reactions. Because when you're using a reaction, you're not acting on your turn, you're acting on someone else's turn. That's what a reaction is. So if you're using an opportunity attack, you're reacting on a separate turn to the previous turn you've already used your sneak attack on, meaning you may use sneak attack. That is how that works. That is rules as written. Thank you very much. If you would like to change that, just know that it's a homebrew and it is a house rule. Don't fight me on this. So with this counter combatant, you may have extra reactions per turn equal to your proficiency bonus, meaning that with those new ways that people can provoke opportunity attacks from you, you can apply more sneak attacks per round, meaning you can overall average up your damage and make you a weird sort of frontliner rather than the rogue's usual sort of sneaking around, backliner, get in, get out playstyle. You can play them more as like a fighter, which I think is really cool. Also, that goes up with your proficiency bonus, meaning that this is a high target for multi-classing. Let's say you're a wizard, and if you multi-class into the scoundrel rogue, you can now counterspell multiple times per round, and that will continue to go up. And I think that this is more in line with the power scaling of stuff that like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, rather than necessarily the power scaling of the player's handbook. But I still think that this is in fact balanced, as reactions are situational and they can't be used all the time. Next we have Rugged Exterior. At 9th level, your life of roughhousing and fighting has started to influence your appearance and the way you think. You gain proficiency in intimidation checks if you don't already. You also gain proficiency in wisdom saving throws. Now, most rogues at 9th level get some sort of quality of life adjustment or some sort of ability that allows them that they can use outside of combat. That's why I added this proficiency in intimidation checks. I think it fits with this character's overall theme of being kind of a scoundrel and a little rough around the edges. And I think the wisdom saving throw speaks to potentially the way of life that this character is living, and also the wisdom that comes with being in combat. And I think this ability, if it looks a little bare, wisdom saving throws are really good. So getting proficiency in that is really, really good. And it is a 9th level ability, so I think it is perfectly balanced. Although, feel free to debate me on that because, you know, this is my own homebrew. Next, we have Conniving Blade. Starting at 13th level, you gain advantage on all opportunity attacks. Now, this means you can always apply your sneak attack on opportunity attacks, meaning you are very good at being a reactionary fighter. Lots of abilities at 13th level are quite powerful anyway, and keep in mind, you have now 4 bonus reactions, meaning you can make a maximum of 5 reactions in a round, meaning that's a lot of potential opportunity attacks you can make if the enemy is trying to move around a lot. So that's really good for a rogue. Next up, we have One Step Ahead. This ability's kind of penultimate final thing that you get at 17th level. At 17th level, your ability to react exceeds the bounds of mortal beings. You may now take multiple reactions before another creature takes their turn, meaning you can stack reactions. You are also always able to take 2 reactions per round without expending a bonus reaction, meaning a maximum of 8 reactions. Now, that is a 17th level ability. Keep in mind, a lot of 17th level abilities are busted as hell. But I do think that this subclass is very mechanically different from a lot of rogues. I feel like building mechanically forward homebrews is what will make your homebrew feel different and will make your homebrew stand out rather than building idea forward. Idea forward's really hard to execute, and I realize that's most of the reason why people want to homebrew. But if you really want to do that, I suggest first, before homebrewing, seeing if you can make it with multi-classing. That will help you figure out what stuff you need to get, if that makes sense. But that is all the time I have for today. So thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, check out the Scoundrel Rogue subclass on my Patreon if you'd like to use it in your games, whether they be home games or streams. If it is a stream, please let me know. I'd love to see it in a stream. I'll definitely check it out. If you are interested in seeing this in a stream as well, I am currently DMing a game as on Mondays. Every single Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Check out 7Cs, 6 Idiots, or twitch.tv/Offbeat Outlaw and watch as this. I've made an NPC using this subclass, and I think it's really cool. Thank you so much for watching. This video has been a little bit all over the place, but that is all I have for today. So I'm gonna humbly ask you to get the fuck out of my house.